Yes, all of you.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Heather coming to you live from the Cardin household. Yes, I have Dr. Ralph in with us today. We're going to talk about day 2 of our bone broth. If you missed the video from yesterday, super simple and short, would you recap for us what you did yesterday?
So what I did yesterday was laid out the bones in the broth, in the pan, and then I had placed apple cider vinegar on the bones so that they could set overnight. One of the questions I had last night was if I let that set in the refrigerator, and yes, I did let that set in the refrigerator overnight. This morning what I did is got up and topped the bones off with water and just gently turned the heat up to about 200 degrees, mostly because I was trying to wait so we can do the video.
So you have approximately 20 pounds of bones.
Correct.
And then if it was whatever the quantity of bones is, you want to use enough apple cider vinegar to gently cover it, or just cover half of it.
You want to cover the bones. And what I did is after a couple hours I turned the bones over, so that the idea behind apple cider vinegar is the vinegar starts to break down the collagen. So when you start to cook it, it breaks it down much faster.
Okay. I don't want to make you nervous, but your mom is watching right now. So did you get this recipe from your mother? Don't throw her underneath the bus.
No, I did not.
But she's a wonderful cook. So let's take another look at those bone marrow. So that's what's going to be breaking down and making the fabulous collagen and protein, the reason you're drinking that. So let's get on with our recipe. Thanks everybody for joining us. So what are you putting in next?
Okay, so in traditional cooking it's called mariquat. It's going to be carrots, celery, and onions.
Well, don't carrots have sugar?
Yes, they do actually.
But
so
you're
first,
not going to eat them, right?
No, we're not eating it. We're going to cook this so that we get the nutrients out of it. So I have approximately 6 or 8 sprigs. The recipe that we'll post on is for about 3 pounds of bones, and obviously we're going to 7 pounds of bones. We're going to make a great big batch of this. So I have about 3 small to medium sized onions, and then about 6 stalks of celery, and I do include the leaves with those as well, because again we're cooking this down to extract the nutrients out. We're not going to eat the food that's left over. I'm doing approximately 3 handfuls of carrots.
And it looks like you have organic carrots. You buy organic celery, because if you're buying, again, organic is best because we bought or ordered the bones from the meat market. We didn't just go and buy them anywhere over the counter, so we ordered those.
Correct.
And you could use, besides the bone marrow you have here, what else could you use if you're making beef or chicken or turkey or whatever is the best tip you could give?
Well, I mean, what we do at the house here is when we do chicken wings, for example, we save all the bones from the chicken carcass. If we roast or smoke a whole chicken, we save the carcass from that, and then we just break it all down. On those smaller bones, what's nice about those is you have to break those in half, because what you want to do is you want to expose this marrow. This marrow is really, really rich in a lot of the nutrients. That's where your body makes its own its own blood. So you want to expose those if you do chicken bones, fish bones. Some people do fish bones as well. So it's basic recipe. You can just change the bones.
And I would say the number 1 mistake people make, including myself, is you leave too much protein on the bones. Like the chicken, I would say get the carcass down to bones and go ahead and save the skin, and you could throw the skin in there and cook that down as well. But don't leave half the meat on. I think that's kind of the biggest mistake we've seen people make.
Absolutely, yeah. If you look at the bone, which a lot of people, like she said, will leave a lot of meat on there. There is some meat on there, but it's really the marrow that we're after. It's this inside of the bone.
And so cooking-wise, are you going to put anything else in there?
I'm going to add spices to this. So what we do, it's a small little recipe that we've kind of experimented with. Bay leaves is going to go in there, and I like to break those bay leaves. It helps kind of extract the flavor out. Peppercorns, just whole peppercorns, and I've probably got about 2 tablespoons of peppercorns. Again, we're going to a large batch, so we're going to put quite a bit in there. At the right time of the year, if you can get fresh rosemary is really great, but at this point we're out of it, so I'm going to use rosemary. We'll come back and add the rest of that in there, and then I also put a little bit of fennel seed in there. Additional things you can add to it: turmeric. You can do what's called a knuckle of turmeric. And then you can also do ginger in there, depending on your preference for flavor and taste.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick peek at that, what it looks like. So are you going to add more liquid to that?
Yes,
and then
yep.
Here we go.
So I'm just going to add more water, and we're just using just good old-fashioned water. And this particular batch, I'm going to fill this up significantly.
Okay, so while you're filling, we'll go back and just tell us when you cook it, you're going to cook it how many degrees, how long?
So I'm going to turn it up to a boil. We've got a roaster. This was another question that was asked last night. There's multiple ways you can do it. You can do it you can do it in a crock pot method.
June.
You can also do it in a roaster. I like to turn the roaster up till the liquid starts to boil, and then I'm going to turn the temperature down to 275 degrees in our roaster, and then I'm going to let it set for 48 to 72, even 96 hours. The longer you cook, the more the nutrients you extract out of those bones and out of the food as well.
And so when it's done, percentage-wise, if it's 5 inches thick, how much should be gelatinous or should be the jelly fat on the top? Are you looking for 30%, 50%?
Well, as long as it's hot, it won't be gelatinous, so you won't know until it cools. What we've found is that the longer we cook it, the more gelatinous the material is. That means you've extracted more of the collagen out of the bones. It just depends. There's not a percentage to go by. When at room temperatures, if you've got a real gelatinous, like a jello type substance, you've got really good bone broth. That's what you're going after. But if you add too much water in relationship to the number of bones, or if you didn't cook it long enough and you don't get that gelatinous substance, it doesn't mean that the broth is bad. You just didn't get as much of the collagen and the nutrients out of the bones.
So post-cooking wise, we're going to cook this down like we just talked about, and obviously that's a large quantity. We have 3 kiddos out of the house. There's 3 of us in the house, so obviously that's going to be more than we can drink in a few days. So storage wise, I know that our good friend Holly makes little ice cubes out of it. Like she'll pour it and actually put it in ice cubes and just use those jello cubes to reconstitute, like in a morning cup of water or tea. What is the best way to store that? Because we do glass mason jars at home, but you could freeze it as well.
So about a week is about how long you want to keep it in the refrigerator. So obviously in this type of batch, we won't go through all of that in a week. So what we'll do is we'll take the rest of it and then we will freeze it in appropriate bags. We'll use freezer bags, or we'll do like Dr. Heather mentioned, and we'll do them in cubes. And what you can do is pull each 1 or 2 of those cubes out. You can put it in a coffee mug, reconstitute it with hot boiling water, and then you're ready to go.
So I'm just laughing. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Hopefully this helps you throughout the holidays. For us after Thanksgiving, it was an amazing way to use the leftover turkey bones and then get right back on our ketogenic low-carb style of living, get all those good nutrients in, because holidays can be stressful. It can strip your body of essential nutrients and macronutrients, things like collagen and minerals that you only get from bones. So when Grandma was talking about using good healthy bones to make that broth, this is why. So this is a great thing to use pre-holiday, pre-party, have maybe, 18 hours if you're doing some intermittent fasting, using some collagen, even some ketones or some fat coffee. Post-eating or overeating, a great way again to get the nutrients back into your body and using that. So you can, again, once the day's over, the dinner's over, go right back to the broth. This also is great for our immune system. And like you said, if you put the turmeric in there or you put the extra ginger in there, it's great for your immune system. And when you reheat this or reconstitute it, you can put some extra MCT, some extra coconut oil, other things in there. Dr. Ralph saying thumbs up.
Absolutely.
To help your immune system as well. So thanks for joining us today. I want to thank Dr. Ralph for taking time to help me make this video today. So you can add other things in there that are super healthy, like thyme and turmeric and ginger and basil, rosemary, garlic. Would you put that in now?
Absolutely. I'll add the garlic now as well.
And then when do you put the sea salt in? Because we use big rocks of sea salt. Would you use that now to break down the bones, or would you use it after cooking?
I would let it cook for the first 24 hours first and then taste it and then determine how much we want to add to it, because depending on the bones that you're using, some of the bones will be more salty. For example, if you're using fish bones and making a fish broth, then those bones are going to be a bit more salty. So I would wait for 24 hours and then just give it a gentle taste and then see where you might want to add salt if you want to do that. And then what we use is either pink Himalayan sea salt, or we use what's called Celtic sea salt, which is a gray colored salt. It's very, very rich in nutrients and minerals as well.
Yeah, and you can always use it afterwards as well to keep your immune system nice and strong. The celery is going to give us extra sodium as well. So Thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this on replay, give us a snowflake. We have no snow in Kansas. You can see it's nice and bright and shiny here in Kansas, but give us a snowflake if you're watching us on the replay. If you make your own bone broth, please post a picture, post your recipe. We will put this recipe down below. I'll also transfer this over to YouTube so you can find it much easier there, but hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of cooking from the Cardin household today, and we definitely want to know what you're doing to keep your body healthy and strong throughout the holidays. Look forward to hearing from you, and thanks for joining us this morning.